Welcome to Samut Sari, Conversations with Mimi, a weekly podcast by Social, also a member of the Guerilla Podcast Syndicate. Samut Sari is where we can show that ordinary people do extraordinary things. Tune in to be entertained and to learn something new with your host, Mimi Laurilla.
My name is Mimi Laurilla, and I will be the host of this podcast and video cast because I also will appear in a video format. Maybe some of you will be surprised. Why is this show? What is this show all about? Who am I? So I thought that the first episode would be about really sharing with you who I am, what was the impetus, or what was the breakthrough moment. Why did I decide to create a podcast, and why am I publishing this in various areas? Okay, so I am Mimi again, and I live in Melbourne, Australia now. We moved to Australia in 2013. I moved here in 2013, and my family followed me in 2014. But I'm still very interested in things that are happening in my home country, of course, which is the Philippines. I am a Filipino that is now living in Australia as a New Zealand citizen. We became New Zealand citizens also in 2013. I moved to New Zealand in 2008 with my whole family, and we love being in New Zealand. But obviously, because at that time we were raising a young family, we thought that by moving to Australia, we'd be able to give our children better opportunities, and that's the reason why we're still here. But I'm still in touch with a lot of my friends all over the world, may it be in the Philippines, in New Zealand, friends in Canada, friends in Europe, in England, in the US. So I thought that this is a way of coming together so I can be still in touch with them. So, but this is not about my private life and my friends' lives, but I also want to deliver messages, and hopefully the messages will be those that are inspiring, those that are really something that would uplift you, and also something that would enable me to share my thoughts and ideas with other people. Because my dream for this podcast is to be able to interview other women. So this show is primarily for women of all ages, young and old alike. And but of course, males are also welcome to tune in and join us, because there are also topics of interest. So mainly the podcast, the reason why it's called Samut Sari is a Filipino word, and it means a variety of things. It's like anything and everything. So Samut Sari can be as a show where hot topics or topics that would interest women, this is an avenue for us to talk about that. And I also want to make this as casual as possible. I don't want this to be very serious. So sometimes we'll be having fun. We'll talk about light topics, but there will be other times when we have to talk about the difficult ones or have difficult conversations. I also want to interview people that are doing extraordinary things. So not really super extraordinary things, but people that are change makers, people that inspire others as well. So stay tuned, because I'm lining up some interviewees, and most of those interviewees will also be women. So treat this show as something that you can tune in from time to time if you're not too busy, and that you have an opportunity to really just sit down, relax, have a cup of coffee or have a cup of tea, or just drink whatever favorite concoction that you have, and join us. So as far as my background, I am a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Development Communication in UP Las Piñas. That is also my hometown. I grew up in that town. My parents worked in the university. And I'm a broadcasting major and minor in journalism. So you will know now that I love to talk and I love to write. So I'm also a writer. I've published 3 books, and I'm in the process of writing my second series of books, and I will talk about that in another episode. But I remember my time as a local journalist and local broadcaster in our area. I used to handle news programs over the radio. I'm also doing drama shows over the radio, and I used to write a lot of scripts and produce those shows. I've also had a current affairs show with a local politician many, many, many years ago. So my being here in a podcast is like a comeback dream for me. Comeback meaning to go back to my roots as a communicator, because living in a foreign country now, which is now our new home, if you might want to call it home, it's like a different ball game. Sometimes I still miss my old self, where I used to be talking a lot in front of nobody, because when you are in a broadcasting booth, you are only talking to yourself. But you have to keep in mind that there are people out there who are listening to you. So this is my um, way of not just reliving the past, but really to reinvent myself and give a new life to my passion, which is communicating. So here I am. So I want to share with you some of the things that I'd like to talk about in any given episode. So normally we would have a specific topic. So the show will revolve around a specific topic, and we'll also feature an interview if we have an interview lined up. But this is something that I would like to inject in this podcast. I like to read letters, and we'll try to solve the problem, or not really solve the problem. Sometimes we just need to talk about it. Now, something like giving them an advice in terms of what they can do. And where do I get these letters from? I realized that I have collected a number of emails for many, many years. So I'm just picking out the ones that I think are still relevant to this day, and I thought that they would be interesting for us to talk about. So I think that's what we will do. And like for today, my maiden or pilot episode is really, really simple. I don't want this to be too high tech of a podcast. I'm actually filming myself and recording myself in the comfort of my own home. I'm in a living room, so there's no studio here. There's no sophisticated microphone or equipment. It's just you and me. I'm recording myself, and I really want it to be seen as a natural thing, like you're talking to a friend on video chat, something like that. Okay, so I'm inspired to talk about Mother's Day because my pilot episode is obviously launched in May, and we know that May is the month of mothers. We celebrate Mother's Day all around the world. Well, apparently, according to my research, Mother's Day is celebrated in different months depending on where you are and your beliefs. Maybe it's a cultural belief or a religious belief. So, most countries, though, they celebrate it in May, and most likely it will be celebrated in the second Sunday of the month. So I just did a quick Google search, and that is what I found. And it's fitting to dedicate this pilot or maiden episode to my mom, Mrs. Imelda Rojo. She passed away very, very recently. So the family is still in our grieving period. Um, and I haven't fully recovered from the death of my mom. I've always emulated. I've always admired my mom. I've admired my grandmother. I've admired all my aunties, all the women in my mother's and father's side of their families, because they inspire me to be a better person, to be a better woman, to do well in anything that I wish to do in life, be it in my career or in my personal life, or just fulfill my dreams and ambitions in life. So obviously, when you lose a parent, especially the mother, it's creating a huge um, impact in your new normal. So this is my new normal life without my parents. And I only have one sibling, and I have a younger brother who lives in Canada. So I'm so far away from him, and to think that we're the only two people uh, that my parents have left behind, apart from obviously the in-laws, the sister-in-law, and my sister-in-law, and my husband, who's the son-in-law, and the grandchildren. So it's I feel like I'm more alone now. Like I've lost my network of my support system, my parents, and especially my mom. She's influenced me in a lot of the things that I do, in the way I do things, and my decision making, and I think that this is something you can relate to very much, because you may be living with your mom, or you may also have a close relationship with your mother. But different mothers have different styles. Some of them are really super showy, but some of them can be silent, um, you know, silently looking for you and looking after you without giving you a lot of that affection. My mom has a combination of that. So sometimes she just uses her words of wisdom to drive home the point, but she doesn't necessarily show it in an affectionate way. But she is very generous, she's very thoughtful, and she's very loving. She's really your typical Filipino mother who takes care of everyone else to the point that she may forget to look after herself. So, but looking after my mom when she was really sick and being with me for the last year of her life is really a privilege for me. I feel that I have been given an opportunity to really tell her how much I love her and the family love her through supporting her while she stayed with us here in Australia. So truly, moms are a gem in our lives, and we really need to hold them very, very close to our hearts. So, me as a mom, what's my style? Sometimes I feel like I'm still inadequate because I know that I can never live up to the standards of my own mom. But I'm trying to be a different kind of parent. Sometimes my husband and I discuss ways by which we would kind of change things around and not follow what the tradition or what we have grown up with in terms of how we manage different issues with the kids. But I feel blessed again that my kids are driven. My kids are trying their best to make something of themselves, and that they've tried their best to do well in school, and we've tried our very best to balance, a little bit of modernity versus a little bit of tradition. So you can never be 100% in terms of the right formula for raising your kids, but the mothers have that particular instinct to know when something is good, when something is excellent, when something is wrong, when something is right. So kudos to all mothers for having that's, I don't know, maybe that's their 11th sense or 12th sense, not just sixth sense. I think moms have a lot of different talents and abilities. So Mother's Day, I don't know how are you going to celebrate Mother's Day today. We are living in a very difficult time, as you know, and being locked in your house currently will probably make it challenging for you to celebrate, because mostly that's the day when we really pamper our moms with surprises, maybe a day trip or a fancy lunch or dinner in a very nice restaurant. We give them the best gifts that we can find for them, or maybe we surprise them with something we bring home to them. Maybe it's a relative of theirs or a family member that they haven't seen for a long, long time. So it's really just an individual choice how families choose to celebrate Mother's Day. But I think in our case, like this year, I would rather keep it as low key and as simple as possible. Again, this is just me because I'm still in the mourning phase with my mother's death. I don't want it to be too happy or too celebratory. I want to do it after a year has passed so we can go back to being a little bit more celebratory. So now it's going to be very difficult for me to possibly celebrate Mother's Day or observe Mother's Day because I've lost the very most influential person in my life. But on the other side, on the flip side, I hope that my kids are going to be very happy celebrating that day with me, and that I keep reminding them that mothers have a very important role in their lives, so they should not and definitely not keep that for granted, because they will become parents one day, they will become moms one day, they will become my son will become a husband, so he would have to look after his wife and his kids, and he should be able to look after that person as the love of his life. So it's the same with my daughters. I keep telling them how special you are as a person, as a woman, in the future, and that you will have a special right as a mom to give birth to your kids if God blesses you with kids, and to name your kids and to have that special privilege of looking after your future children. So really, Mother's Day is special and very very important. So I don't know about you guys, if you have something to share about your mother or a special woman in your life, and you would like us to talk about that, let me know. I have an email, by the way. My email is mimi at dinosocial.com. It's mimi at dinosocial.com. And I have another email address which I will um, I'll put it at the end of this podcast for you guys if you want to keep in touch with me, or if you have suggestions in terms of the topics that you would like me to talk about, then I'm all for that. I'm very, very game. I'm very, very game to collaborate with you when you reach out to me. So here's looking forward to that. So I have a little script here. I have a little outline of what I want to talk to you about today. Um, and the other thing that I want to share with you is how my life has changed over the years. This is like a very short and a personal sharing from my perspective, from my point of view. I used to believe that as the only daughter of two children and the younger one, I always carried this burden of the responsibility of making sure that my parents are happy, my parents are proud with the achievements that I have done or made, and so with my brother to make sure that they are also very happy with whatever is happening in his life. So I've carried that. I don't think it's really a burden, but I've carried that thought in my head for a long, long time. So I'm always trying to do things and ways to make them happy. And I don't know if children nowadays feel the same way, that they really want to make their parents proud. At the same time, when I see my kids perform well in whatever little thing that they do, whether it's school related or not. They have this little quirky way of letting me notice that, to make sure that I am aware and then I acknowledge them. So, part of the thing that really makes our episode special is a reminder for all of us to acknowledge the work that our parents have done for us, especially the moms, and in turn, do things that would make them acknowledge our achievements. Because as a son or a daughter, all you want is to make your parents happy as well. So you're kind of like scared to make mistakes, because you know that they will be disappointed in you. And obviously, some of us, probably when we were young, we're not as aware that we need to do that, and we keep making mistakes. So obviously, the parents are disappointed, or some people become headache, quote unquote. But it's not always the child's fault. So I'm just reflecting. So I think this first episode for me is just a simple reflection episode. I just want to introduce myself to you all, and I hope you will always find the time to share a very short moment with me. There are no guests today, but I have a letter. So let me just go over this letter, which I found in my old emails, because as a script writer before, I'm always looking for stories to put over the radio as part of my drama series. So I'm looking for a plot, or a scene, or conflict, or a situation that would trigger me to write a creative piece around that. So some of those I've kept, luckily. So I'm going to read one letter to you today. Is that okay? So I have to translate this letter because it was written in Filipino. So I'm translating it into English. But I encourage you, if you have a letter to share as well, then please write me an email, and then we'll talk about that in the podcast. So this is the letter. Hello, Mimi. I need your advice. I am Anika of Cubao, Philippines, 32 years old, and a single mother to two kids aged 5 and 2. I lost my husband to cancer just after the birth of our second child. So at that time, the child was already 2 years, so the husband's been gone for 2 years as well. I'm wondering, when is it a good time to fall in love again so that I can have a partner to keep me or to get me through life. I am just a part time employee, so I can take care of the kids, but I also want to be happy. I am scared that my family and my in laws will not approve if I move into a new relationship. There is a guy who is an office mate and has been courting me for 4 months. Should I tell him to forget me or should I continue entertaining him? I need an objective opinion. Please help. Thank you, Anika. Hmm. What an interesting Mother's Day dilemma. Okay, so maybe you're asking me, are you a psychotherapist? Are you a physiotherapist? Are you a psychologist? Are you a relationship expert? So what do I have? What are my credentials for sharing my advice to this person? Well, I do not have special powers or special capabilities or special technical knowledge um, to to give this person an advice. But I am a person, I am a woman, I am a mom, I have life experiences as well, and I can be an objective listener and an observer. So I found letter writing to be an art that is slowly dying. So for me to revive these letters that I have received before um, makes me wonder whether people also need to revive that letter writing skill. So my experience would be my input into this situation. Anika may or may not um, have gone through life now for many years because this has been a letter sent to me many years ago, but the situation is still current. The situation is still existing. So we can still offer our advice to the Anikas of today. Okay, so I don't know where Anika is now, but um, for women who have a similar situation that they're going through right now with Anika. So you are a young person, you're a single mom, you have two school-aged kids, and you have a career. So you already have a lot of layers to go through. And still you want to find love and you want to fall in love and you want to be happy. And the question is, should she entertain this person who is really interested in her, knowing fully of what her situation is as a single mom? But as in any woman, most women that I know would always think of everybody else before themselves. So she's thinking about her kids. She's thinking about what the in-laws would tell her. She's also thinking about what her own family might tell her because she said, just stick, maybe they're thinking just stick to being a mom and don't entertain other men in your life. So what's my take on this? Maybe rather than saying advice, what's my take on this? I'm one of those typical women who are kind of lucky to be still in a very loving relationship with their spouses, and my kids have grown, and I I think that I'm in a good place. I believe I'm in a good place as far as my relationship is concerned. So maybe I will not be able to fully understand how difficult it is to be a single mom, but I can imagine um, the thoughts that are going in your mind, that you will probably ask yourself, is my priority my kids or myself? It's a very tricky situation, right? But I think that if you believe, so for the Anikas there right now, so if you believe that this person is the right partner who can really understand your position as a mother, and your position is to really look after your kids, and this person has full knowledge of your responsibilities, and if he can be instead of being a burden, but he can be a person who will uplift you and really help you through your own challenges, and if he really truly cares about you and he's not after your money, for example, or after anything else, but he genuinely wants to become a part of your family and become a stepdad to the kids, then for me, that is the most important thing compared to what other people might say. Because after all, it is your own life that you want to rebuild now, or start, if you want, you can call it start um, from start fresh. And part of the process is probably making sure that your kids understand what is happening in your life as well, because they've grown up to know one male figure, and that was your husband. And now that he's already gone, how much of your husband do they still remember, and are they longing for him, and how much of his presence is still very much in their lives? So are they also ready to accept a new person in their life? So it's also a matter of explaining to them that this new person will not totally wipe out the memory of their dad, but it's a new person that they could potentially, bring into their hearts and welcome to the family. And this person might even be the new father figure for them. Okay, so if this person becomes the new father figure, then I think it's a bonus because your kids will be extra happy. Now, I don't know because it was not stated in your letter. I don't know if this person is also a widow or a widower, sorry, widowed woman, widower man. I don't know whether this person is single and whether he has much experience with kids. So this person must truly love you to be able to get to know you and become your partner, and at the same time ensuring that the kids' welfare are looked after. So it's not just you, but the kids as well. So if this person is really ready to take on, knowing that you have a lot on, then maybe it's the time really to consider. But if you in yourself have certain doubts or certain things that you can't put your finger on, and you think that there's something still not quite right, then maybe you can hold off a little bit more. Um, and it's also a good time to have a quiet discernment on what will make this person um, make or break your relationship with this person, or if you want to continue moving on with your relationship with that person. So um, you have to weigh the pros and cons. I know it's easier said than done, but it's only you yourself that can answer that question. If you're ready to fall in love, why not? But is this person ready to also accept your kids? And I'm not even talking about what your family will say about this and what your in-laws would say about this. But at some point, you also have to consult them. At some point, you also have to ask them, um, you know, what they think of introducing a new person into your life. But after you've consulted with everyone, the final decision is still yours. So, and I'm pretty sure that Anika might have already made her decision, but to the other people listening to me or watching me right now, and you are in the same boat as Anika, that would probably be my sisterly advice to you. And good luck, and I'm pretty sure you will make the right decision because, like I said earlier in the show, women are gifted with certain senses, extra senses that helps them make the right decisions, not just for themselves but for their family. Okay, so I think I'm going to end my podcast Maiden episode very early because obviously I'm still starting. And I really want to thank you for the time that you have spent with me today. And I hope that you have found this interesting enough for you to come back and be with me in the future episodes. Um, I will make sure that the future episodes will be more interesting because we'll be chatting with some people here so I don't really feel lonely. And like I said, if you have some topics that you would like us to talk about, just feel free to reach out and send that to me. So, again, thank you for being here. Remember the name of the show, Samut Sari, Conversations with Mimi. And this is about us celebrating ordinary people that do a lot of extraordinary things. Thank you and see you in our next episode. Bye for now.
If you find value in this episode, make sure you like and subscribe to be notified of new releases. If you have any questions or suggestions, please reach out to Guerrilla Podcast or send us an email at mimi@dinosocial.com. Spread the word and don't forget to tune in next time.